Hello, I'm Spurg, this is Pat, and welcome to the best motorcycle mesh jackets of 2025.
Yeah, as categories go, mesh motorcycle jackets are extremely popular because they do a great job of providing airflow and comfort in warm weather while still having impact armor and abrasion resistance to keep you safe in a crash.
Now, this video is meant to be a top-level guide, and therefore we're going to provide you with QR codes as well as links in the description below that will take you over to the individual product pages as well as the best of landing page where you can find even more detailed information on all the jackets that we are going to discuss today. We're going to break this conversation down into 5 categories: sport, budget, commuter, touring, and ADV. Within those categories, there's also going to be options that are going to work for both men and women. So if you have a specific type of jacket that you're looking for, feel free to jump ahead using the video chapter markers.
Yeah, but let's kick things off with our best sport mesh jacket of 2025, the Alpinestars TGP Plus R V4.
So first and foremost, there's a Stella version for the women in the audience, and while we call this a sport jacket, that is how this is marketed. And I think that's an important note. As we go through each of these categories, there's a lot of cross functionality here. For example, with the TGP Plus R V4, this is something that's got the pre-curve. You can use this on a sport bike or a naked sport bike, but this is also something that's comfortable enough that if I was just using my adventure bike for a street ride or my Bonneville, I would still be able to pull this jacket off.
Yeah, and this is the airflow version, and for $290, you're getting a ton of mesh up front, on the inner sleeves, at the back of the sleeves, and the entire back of the jacket, which is going to flow a ton of air through to the rider.
So in addition to all the mesh, what I like about this is the added stretch. It's a very comfortable jacket to use. You can use it in more of that full tuck position or an upright position, and it's going to work perfectly with an airbag if you're already adopted to that technology.
Yeah, and if you're not using an airbag, it does come stock with the Nucleon Flex Plus CE Level 1 armor, which is super malleable. It's going to breathe a ton of air as well, so it's not going to hinder any of that airflow, and that comes stock in the shoulders and the elbows.
So the final note that I really liked about this one is just the overall style. It kind of plays with that kind of a retro vibe with the way the colors are integrated here, but it still carries through with more of a modern flair. So it's something I think a lot of people will gravitate to.
Yeah, and that's $290, but if you're looking to save a little bit more coin and looking for something a little less aggressive, you can take a look at our budget pick, which is the rev'it Eclipse 2, coming in at $190.
So this is one that I like because it is a bit more neutral in cut. It's going to work for a wide range of different riding types out there. I actually used this jacket when Zach and I rode in India for a CTXP episode. I was able to layer up underneath it, and it was comfortable for a wide range of riding styles as well as different temperature ranges.
Yeah, and I think it goes for a lot of different riders as well. You can be a beginner, you can be an experienced rider like Spurgeon, riding in all sorts of scenarios, and it really performs well because it's got a nice neutral cut, as well as a ton of mesh at the front, sleeves, and the back just to help exhaust all that air out.
So even though it's on the more affordable side of mesh jackets, I feel like the armor that's being used is much more sophisticated than you'd expect. This is going to be rev'it's C-Smart CE Level 1 armor. Very comfortable. The one note here with this jacket, as well as pretty much every jacket that we're going to discuss outside of the climb category, is that you are going to want to add a back protector to it.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to call out just before we move on to the next topic is that this has a monochromic look to it. It's really just one color throughout. I really dig that across all the colors. It's really just not going to stand out. It's not going to look like a moto jacket while you're out there wearing it.
Now, the one thing this does sacrifice at its price point is a lack of stretch. So let's move on to our next commuter category for the Reax Alta 2, which is going to bring some of that stretch back in, but with a similar style.
Yeah, and at $250, you're getting a full stretch chassis all the way around the key areas you want it, inner arm and at the sides. But again, that mesh at the front and the sleeves is going to be flowing a ton of air all the way through.
The other thing that the Alta 2 adds in is a drop waterproof liner. This isn't going to be just great for those of you that sometimes ride in the rain, but also it's going to help push that seasonality a little bit further into the cooler months. So you can ride this a little bit further into the fall as well as start a little bit earlier in the spring.
Yeah, and I know those transition days of riding, I prefer to just run a mesh jacket for the hot midday, but have a waterproof or a thermal liner inside, so I like that it's included. But what's also included is the new Axial AX2 Air Armor, which we saw them debut with this jacket, which is just very breathable, CE Level 2, and really soft and malleable, just like we saw from some of the others, but with a CE2 backing.
So again, if you're looking at this one, it does share a similar style to what we saw with rev'it, but it's adding in better protection with CE Level 2 armor, more comfort with stretch, as well as more functionality with that drop waterproof liner. So let's go ahead and move on to the touring category.
I'm gonna go with my favorite pick and the jacket that I still currently wear, which is the Climb Induction for men, and it's called the Avalon for women.
So this is one where I think the biggest con is for climb, because once you buy a climb jacket, it really really does hold up over time. I've got 2 climb jackets in my regular arsenal. They've taken a beating. They're both well over 5 years old, and they just keep working. And that's really what we like about this. This is now getting up into the more expensive side of things at $400, but this is a jacket that if you invest in, it just keeps performing.
Yeah, I've had my induction for about 8 years now. It's one of the generations prior to this one, but it works just fine. It's got all the mesh in front of it, and they used to have a waterproof liner in it. It wasn't that great. I like that they ditched that because I can just add the waterproof liner I want for maybe 50 to 100 bucks and keep that in my bag, but have a great mesh jacket otherwise.
So the other thing to note here too is that this is going to utilize D3O CE Level 1 armor. This is also going to include a back protector, so there's no additional cost associated with adding a back protector to this, and this is now going to carry a CE AA abrasion resistance rating. We get a lot of questions from customers about like, oh, is mesh even really safe to use on a motorcycle? When we're looking at these mesh jackets, they've come so far from what mesh was a decade ago. This is going to be a really sophisticated option for you.
Yeah, they get all those key materials on the outer seams where your really chance of sliding is the highest.
So speaking of ADV, that brings us into our final category, the best mesh adventure jacket, and today we're going to discuss with you the rev'it Sand 5, around the $530 price point, but there's also a lot of functionality.
Yeah, you're getting a lot of features with that $530, but what I want to call out is they didn't change the price from the Sand 4. This just launched this spring, and one of the biggest things is they didn't change the price, but they gave you a massive panel of mesh at both sides of the chest as well as the back, just vastly increasing the amount of summer use you can get out of this jacket.
So for this one, while it's in our best mesh category, this is really going to be a great 3 to 4 season pick. You're getting a drop thermal, you're getting a drop waterproof. This is a jacket that you're going to be able to use throughout the summer months, or you're going to be able to push this into your winter rides as well.
Yeah, with 5 total vents all the way throughout, including the sleeves. I mean, you're going to be able to feel the air in the summer, add a liner in there if it's cold morning, or get through most of the winter for, I'd say, a majority of the country with CE AA abrasion throughout.
And from an armor standpoint, this is going to be utilizing...
This is the CE Level 2 C-Flex armor from rev'it, and this is going to be really nice. It's a bit thicker than we've seen from all the other options, but since it is CE Level 2 and it's ventilated, it's going to be really solid for really taking all those impacts in.
So keep that in mind. This is only the second jacket that we've discussed today that comes with CE Level 2 armor as standard. And like I said, in the very first category, when we talk about sport, you know, you can get a lot of functionality out of this, even though this is really marketed as an adventure jacket. If you're riding an upright position motorcycle, this is going to be something that you can use. It's going to be comfortable for day-to-day touring. I would say the one exclusion there is if you are on more of a full tuck sport bike, this is probably going to feel a little bit bulky for you.
Yeah. But if you are trying to ride an ADV jacket on a sport bike, you probably already knew that was coming.
Whew. All right, there you have it, folks. Our favorite picks for the best motorcycle mesh jackets of 2025.
And keep in mind, if you want more information on any of the jackets we discussed today, you can check the links in the description to watch detailed breakdowns where Spurgeon and I walk through each piece of gear in detail, or you can read more on our Best of Mesh page.
And in addition to mesh jackets, we're going to have best of guides across a wide variety of categories. If you'd like, you can also reach out to one of our customer service teams. They're there to make sure you get the right gear for your riding style this season, and they can make sure it works perfectly with your budget.
Yeah, so for myself and Spurgeon, Mike, and Chase behind the camera, I want to just thank you for hanging out with us and checking out our best motorcycle mesh jackets of 2025. I'll see you in the next video.
Enjoy the ride.